What is up, guys? My name is Jonah, and I am here to answer the question, can I trust God in the circumstance that I'm in life right now? And so I want to kind of show you guys my birth story as an example of how I have overcome that question and have trusted God with my life and my plans and my future. I was adopted at birth, and so I don't remember much of my birth. So I have medical records and all of that on documents to be able to know what my life was like when I was younger and what the adoption process looked like. And so a little bit just to start off, kind of give you an idea. When my birth mom was planning to have me, she planned to have me aborted, and I ended up coming out 32 weeks out, 32 weeks, and if you guys know what the gestation period looks like, it's about 42 weeks for a good baby. And so I came out 8 weeks early, and I came out at 2 pounds and like 9 ounces. And so that's a very fragile baby right there, right? And so one thing that also impacted it the whole pregnancy was I was drug born, right? So she took drugs while she had me, and that's something that is very hard for me to be able to know and understand why you would do that. And so, with that being said, it makes the pregnancy complicated, right? There's a lot of medical conditions that might affect me in the near future and for the rest of my life. And so, she went to the hospital. The birth happened, and I was facing the opposite way a baby should face. So, usually it's head first. My legs were facing out first. And so, with that being said, I was stuck in the womb for 3 minutes. And so, during that 3 minutes, I was stuck there, right? And the doctors were trying everything to get me out. And I wasn't breathing for 3 minutes. And so, with that being said, without breathing for the 3 minutes, I was having seizures in the womb. And so the doctors ended up having to pull my shoulder and to get me out, to kind of like wiggle me out. And so with them pulling on my shoulder, with me being such a fragile baby, being that 2 pounds, like I mentioned, it damaged my arm. And so I'll show you this. So if you put your arm straight out and you turn it, right, you have your palm facing up. So with my left arm, which is the one they pulled on, I can only go halfway, right? And so it not only affects the nerves in my arms, but it also affects my shoulder blades. So like with this hand, I can reach back, but this one I can only go like this high, right? And so the name of that injury is called Erb's palsy, and so it mainly deals with the nerves in the arm. And so with a lot of cases for Erb's palsy, it's kind of like the waiter's arm, right? You go to a restaurant and you have that fancy restaurant and you have a waiter coming up to you, right? And they have that towel over their arm. And so with Erb's palsy, what happens is the arm kind of gets stuck in that waiter's position and kind of stuck to your body, right? So you're like paralyzed in the left arm. And so when I found that information out, knowing how my arm is today, I was beyond starstruck, right? Because with my case, with my arm being able to move, it's very rare. It doesn't happen much, and it's, a one in a lifetime chance of my arm still being able to have the movement and not being forever paralyzed. And so a little bit about that injury, we'll fast forward a little bit, right? They end up getting me out. My arm is pulled. My arm is messed up. And so I had the seizure in the womb, wasn't breathing, right? Now they got me out. And so once they got me out, they got everything under control. They got my heartbeat under control, all of that stuff, right? And so now it raises the question, I'm out of the womb. Now my mom has the option on whether or not she wants to keep me, right? And all this time I'm in the NICU just with, my weight and how I came out so fragile. And so she has the option to keep me or to, give me to to a fostering agency to find a family for me. And so she ended up giving me, I don't want to say giving me away, but she ended up giving me to the adoption agency, right? Now, I may never know why she did that, or I may never find out the true reason, but at the end of the day, I trust God that she did it there for the right reason. And I know that's very hard to understand. It's probably very hard to comprehend, but at the end of the day, I trust that God had a plan for it all along, right? And so with everything that happened during the birth, now it raises the question, okay, all right, now we need to find a family for this child. And so what that process looks like is you get birthed, and then there's the period between birth and the period between you get adopted, right? And so in the middle, it's the fostering point, right? And so sometimes they have a family, just a person or a family designated where they will take the kid while all the paperwork's getting taken care of. They can find a family member, or they find a family to adopt the child. And so I ended up finding a family that fostered me between that period, and so with everything going on, they had two families come in, and one of the families took my medical records to the doctor, to their pediatrician, and they said, "Hey, with this baby and what he has gone through, do you think it is a good idea for us to adopt him and have him in our family for the rest of our lives?" And that doctor straight up told them, "No, I think it is a atrocious idea, because what this baby has gone through, he should have died. With everything that he's gone through in the birth, he should have died. And if he survives this, he's going to be having seizures. He's going to be having all these different medical conditions to where he'll die." And so, hearing that information is just, for me, it's crazy. Because at the end of the day, it hurts, right? It hurts knowing that somebody has the opportunity to take a child, right, out of a bad situation. And they just pass up the idea. And so that hurt me a lot. And so two families did that. And luckily there was another family that came who ended up taking me and adopting me, and that's who my family is today, to this date. And I'm sitting here today looking back at that situation, right? It keeps me reminded that even though no matter what situation you are in life, you have to look at the little things, the little positive things in your life, right? Because it's always so easy to get caught up in the negativity in your life, whether it's, oh, my car broke down, oh, or I don't have that dream job, I don't have a girlfriend, or, oh, why do I not live up to the standard of social media nowadays? And so looking at all those negatives in your life, you have to take a step back, take a deep breath, and say, hey, look, this has happened to me. God got me out of this situation. Now, how can I trust God with his plan on getting me out of that situation and be able to trust his plan that he has for me, right? And it's so hard to do that, right? And I'm speaking it, right? Because I've been there and I've done that, right? But my advice to you is looking at the small things you have in your life, right? In the book of Genesis, right, it talks about Adam and Eve. They were wanting to eat of the tree of good and evil, right? And so that their vision, they were honed in on that tree, right? There were many other trees around them, many other good trees. And so, but they were honed in on that bad one, right? And what ended up happening, if you read further on in the book of Genesis, in the beginning, it talks about how they ate from it and sin entered the world, right? And so that's what these negative thoughts can do to you, and these negative things that you go through is it can take you down a trail that you've never been down before. And I've been there. I've been there a lot, and it's not fun. And what helps me is taking a step back, looking at the small things I have in my life, whether it's a car that can get me from point A to B, whether it's a job, whether it is a food on my plate for the night, whether it is clothes on my back, all these little things that add up. And so this is something that I want to really just reassure you guys that everything's going to work according to God's plan, but at the end of the day, you have to trust his plans for you. Jeremiah 29:11, it says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you, not to harm you." And that harm you is hard, right? Because those negative situations you're in, you're getting harmed mentally, right? Your mental space is the biggest space possible, right? That is a very important space that you need to keep positive. And so further on in the verse, it says, plans to give you hope in a future. Right at the end, it says a future, right? We may never know what God has planned for us, but we trust him, right? Just because he's been good to us our whole life, and he's been able to provide the things that we have in life, whether it's a job, food, like I stated earlier, all right? And going back to another verse is, I sought the Lord, and he heard, and he answered. Some of you guys may know that of a song, right? He delivered me from all of my fears, and that is Psalms 34:4, right? And if you read further on, you can kind of see how it dives into that, right? But it's seeking God to be able to help him or help you trust in him and his plan for you. But like I said, guys, just trust God. I know it's hard, with social media and, the struggles that we have in today's world, but I speak from experience. If you trust God, he will make that plan clear to you, and he may not do it today, may not do it tomorrow, but at the end of the day, if you keep trusting him, he will. But that's all I got for you guys today. If you guys want to kind of dig deeper into this story, I would love for you guys to reach out. You can hit me up on Instagram, LewisJonah80. And that's all I got for you guys. But stay blessed.